Hello, and welcome back to the Courage to Become podcast. I'm Joe, your host, and as always, I am so glad you're here. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches all of us at some point in our lives. The topic today is guilt, how it impacts us, and why letting it go is one of the most powerful things that we can do for ourselves. Last week, we talked about setting boundaries and how that can sometimes cause us to feel guilt. Remember that guilt is a message. If guilt has ever held you back, drained your energy, or made you question your worth, then this episode is for you. So, first, I want to unpack a little bit about what is guilt. At its core, guilt is a signal. It's a feeling that comes up when we believe we've done something wrong or failed to meet a specific standard, whether that standard is our own or someone else's. And so sometimes guilt can be healthy. It nudges us to reflect and to take responsibility and to make amends when we need to. But often guilt can be unhealthy. We carry it for much longer than it serves us. And we feel things that a lot of times aren't even our responsibility. And this is especially true for women. Women are often conditioned to feel guilty for putting themselves first, or for saying no, or for simply existing outside of society's expectations. I mean, culturally. And it's crazy how we're made to feel guilty for setting boundaries, but it is in one of those boundaries where we find ourselves supported along the journey. And so this is one of life's crazy conundrums that causes us more harm than good a lot of times. So I want to talk about what guilt does to us and how, when we hold on to it, it can drain us, it can sabotage us. So what happens when we hold on to energy is that it's really heavy and it pulls on our energy and it leaves us feeling depleted. And when we feel stuck in guilt, it's like carrying a backpack full of rocks everywhere we go. So it's an energetic drain. Guilt often leads us to thoughts like, I don't deserve this, or I can't ask for more. And that creates a cycle of self-sabotage and there blocks our own growth and success. Guilt also disconnects us from our true selves. Instead of listening to what feels right for us, we're stuck worrying about what everyone else thinks or about how we've fallen short and feeling guilty about it. And it takes a physical toll on us. It's not just emotional, it's physical too. Chronic guilt can contribute to stress, fatigue, illness, and dis-ease. Letting go of guilt isn't about ignoring your feelings or avoiding responsibility. It's about acknowledging what you're feeling and learning from it and then releasing it. Every feeling we get is a message. What is that message that guilt is trying to tell you? And I make this sound so easy, but I know that this can be a challenge because sometimes it's even in the things that make us feel good that cause us to feel guilty. And one example I'll give of this is children of a divorced family. And those of you who have been following me know that I'm from a divorced family. And yes, this is one that I definitely can relate to and resonate with. But when you have fun, and I'll use myself as an example. If I went to my dad's and I had a really good time, I would be afraid to come home and tell my mom that I had a really good time because I would feel guilty about that. I would feel like it would hurt her feelings. I don't want her to know that I had a good time at dad's because I know it's going to hurt her feelings. And I didn't want to make her sad. And so this can happen because of our conditioning. mom and dad not getting along and the energy that they exert around the kids causes them to feel that tension and they want to avoid that pain. And this can cause children to suppress their feelings. And this was a really big one for me. I am someone who definitely suppresses my feelings. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I do this. It's something that I'm working on and how I got involved in this. But it can happen because of our conditioning, but it can also happen because of our human design. So, in human design, our emotional solar plexus open, if it's white, that means that we take on the energy of those people around us and it amplifies. So, if I went home and told mom, I had a really great time at dad's this weekend, she had an open solar plexus. She was going to, I didn't have an open solar plexus. She did. If I had an open solar plexus, I was going to feel her pain tenfold. But I still felt her pain even though my emotional solar plexus was closed because if you have been following me for any length of time, you also know I'm very sensitive. And so any energy that either one of my parents put off, I felt tenfold because I was extremely sensitive. Another area of your human design this can impact you in is the undefined G center. The people with an undefined G center already struggle with a sense of belonging and a fear of rejection. And in this particular case, they might feel as though they're not enough for one parent when they express joy for the other parent. The defined heart center, this is feeling the pressure to prove your love and your loyalty. And this results in guilt when you have a good time with the other parent because you feel like you're not being loyal to the other parent. You're kind of stuck in the middle. Our profiles is another area of our energy that this can show up and really amplify. The line 4, they value connection. So they might fear losing approval if they go home and tell mom they had a great time. Line 6s may feel like they're the ones who need to make everything right and they feel like they need to fix everything. Or even a projector might feel like they need to fix everything. And this can lead to guilt if they feel that their happiness is causing discomfort to someone else, especially if it's one of their parents. A line 2 would typically withdraw or avoid difficult conversations, and then that therefore increases their feelings of guilt. But the truth is, holding on to guilt doesn't fix the past and it doesn't serve our future. What it does is it keeps you stuck in that loop of shame and regret. But once we learn this as a child, when we're children, we don't have logic or reasoning skills. So before these logic or reasoning skills even come up for us or we even understand what that is, we already have these beliefs, these limiting beliefs, and they become part of who we are. And it's situations like these that contain these limiting beliefs. And these are the situations where we need to master those beliefs so that we can get you beyond that. When you let go of guilt, you can reclaim your power. You open the door to peace, freedom, and self-compassion. So I want to give you a few steps in how you can release that guilt to help yourself to learn and to grow. Step 1, you need to identify the source. Ask yourself, where is this guilt coming from? Is it rooted in your values or is it tied to someone else's expectations? And for this exercise, you have to go way back. You have to go into your childhood. This clarity is going to help you to determine if this guilt is even yours to carry. Because oftentimes the guilt we hold isn't even ours. Like I said, anywhere we have an open center, anywhere the center is white, that's an open center. You may hold on to this and you may be amplifying other people's guilt. Step 2 is in reframing the story. Instead of focusing on what you did wrong, look for what the lesson is. What did you learn from that experience? How has it helped you to grow? Step 3 is practice forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't just for others, it's for yourself. Remind yourself that you are human and humans make mistakes. There's a mantra that you can use to repeat to help you to make you feel better about this. It's I forgive myself for not knowing what I didn't know at the time. And I'm just going to go one step a little bit further. You can forgive yourself because you didn't know any better at the time. But now you do. And now we're giving you the steps to help remove these limiting beliefs, to help you get rid of that guilt. Step 4, release through ritual. Sometimes releasing guilt requires a symbolic action. What I like to do is I like to write letters to myself, and I will do it in my diary so I can look back on it. You can write letters to yourself or about the situation. You can acknowledge the guilt and then physically let it go. You can burn it up. You can tear it up. You can bury it. I keep mine in my journal because I want to be able to go back and remember how I was feeling as I was healing through this stuff. But there are times that if something is very, very painful and I can't let go of it, I will write it on a piece of paper and I will burn it. Step 5 is to replace the guilt with gratitude. You have to shift your focus from what went wrong to what's going right. Gratitude grounds you in the present moment and it reminds you of your strengths. And then step 6 is to set your intentions moving forward. Use your energy to create change instead of dwelling on the past and the things that you can't change. Set an intention for how you want to show up moving forward. Who do you want to be? Write the new story of who you want to be. And you're going to love this because I have a course coming up about how to rewrite your story. Because I think it's really important to understand how pivotal our story is in our lives. The story we tell of ourselves is who we are. It's who we be. And if we want to be someone different, we have to change the story that we're telling of ourselves. So letting go of guilt isn't just about feeling better. It's about becoming better. When you release guilt, you strengthen your self-worth. You remind yourself that you are deserving of love and respect no matter what. You reclaim your energy. You free up mental and emotional space for joy, creativity, and connection. And you align with your own authenticity. You stop living in the shadow of shoulda, coulda, woulda, and start living in the light of who you truly are. Guilt can feel like a heavy burden, but it's not one that you have to carry forever. Remember, a lot of our limiting beliefs were learned from our childhood, subconsciously. So releasing it now in some cases may be easier than we once thought it was. You open yourself up to healing and self-compassion and the courage to move forward when you can release this heavy burden of guilt. So here's my challenge for you for this week. I want you to think about one piece of guilt that you may be holding on to. I want you to acknowledge it and thank it. Send it gratitude for whatever lesson it brought. And then let it go. Rip it up, burn it, whatever you have to do, but let it go. You are worthy of living a life free of the weight of that guilt. That guilt is what's causing you dis-ease. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Courage to Become. If this message resonated with you, please sprinkle some love on that like button, share it with a friend, subscribe, and as always, I'd love to hear from you. What's your experience with guilt? How are you letting it go? How is it teaching you? What is it teaching you? What are you learning from it? And until next time, letting go of guilt is an act of courage, and every act of courage brings you one step closer to becoming the person that you were meant to be. I'll see you in the next one.